Here we are at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter in Wantagh, New York. This has been a shelter that's been under controversy and scrutiny for almost a decade. It started in 2010, but for me it started long before that.
Debbie, you want to kill him yet? You want to kill him back?
Kill the kitty! Kill the kitty!
After rescuing at the shelter for about 15 years and using my own money and providing programs, services, medical, spay, neuter, paying for all of that, I started exposing them for all the money that was there that wasn't accounted for.
You've got a real problem, and that's clearly why you don't want us to come up here and say the things we have to say in public. I could just tell by the way you're sitting there ignoring me. You don't read your emails, you don't get your phone calls, and you don't get your letters.
Not only are you hiding things at the shelter, but you are using Lucille and I as a tool held hostage so people are afraid to speak.
Today, Supervisor Kate Murray has an official judgment against her for violating the constitutional rights of 3 residents of the town. A judgment, not allegations. This judgment was not brought down by the jury, but by the defendants themselves, by Kate Murray herself. Why don't these council people who stood here in town hall beside Kate Murray before the press and TV cameras demanding the resignation of the town official based on allegations alone?
Bad cats out! Volunteers in! Bad cats out! Volunteers in! Stop the killing! Stop the killing!
The town has proven to not make good decisions. They have not put the right people in place, and now we don't trust it.
Where is it? How come this guy's making $200,000 a year for doing nothing?
We've been telling her, I've been at every town hall meeting for 5 months. They've been saying the abuse has been going on. She knew the abuse was going on.
So these animals are going to die silently without the public not knowing. We want our shelter back. We have a right to be in there. We have a right to save these animals, and they're counting on us to do that.
It was a scathing report, and it did reveal many things, but the thing that really stood out in our minds was there was $3.5 million charged to the animal shelter that could not be accounted for. 3.1 is going to employees' salaries. So you have almost 80% of the annual budget for the animal shelter going to salaries, paid employees.
Today, the clerk of the court, Federal District Court in Iceland, entered a judgment against the town of Hempstead based upon a lawsuit that we brought against them for violations of these ladies' First Amendment rights and for defamation.
You know, many changes were made because of the lawsuit and the New York State order. The town was forced for the first time ever in the history of the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter to actually get rid of, forced to retire, remove all the employees that really didn't have much of a function or a purpose, but were making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year. And they took that money, and for the first time in the history of the town of Hempstead, they actually hired experts. They actually hired people who were trained and had experience and proven track records in their field in the animal welfare world. All the people with the experience are gone. all the programs, the adoption program, the behaviors, the trainers, all of that is gone. $3.2 million is still being used in salaries, but the difference is they have gotten rid of the trained, experienced, skilled, talented people who know how to work with animals and replace them with people who have no experience at all, just political connections. At one time there used to be a sign there that said, "Watch our progress grow." They were turning in 2011, after the New York State audit and after the lawsuit of the band rescuers, they were turning into an adoption center. And this place was filled with volunteers, training. Any given day you'd come out here, this would be packed. You'd always see at least a dozen dogs and tons of volunteers walking the dogs. And it was becoming a very healthy, happy, safe haven for our animals. That sign is gone, and now the mentality here is reverting back to a kill shelter. They don't want their euthanasia rates to increase because they know too many people are watching the shelter and watching the numbers. So they are moving these animals out, sometimes 20 cats at a time, to different facilities all over the country, out-of-state facilities, and it's really not clear as to where they're going. They will not reveal where they're going. They're not answering FOIL requests to give us the name. They're saying that that's private information that they cannot give us. They're doing the same thing with the dogs. They move dogs to, one case we found out that some very highly aggressive dogs were moved to a facility somewhere upstate to a woman that ran a business. She was not a 501c rescue organization, and under agriculture and markets, that is illegal. This area back here is where they do their training. A pretty sad training facility, considering that this shelter now has a $4 million a year annual budget. That's tax dollars going to this shelter. The behaviors program, the training program is to be done in that trailer. That's sad. It's sad when you have a facility that's taking $4 million a year for a trailer and a trainer that's non-existent. You hardly ever see her. She's making $109,000 a year, and there's really not much training going on.